Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Authorities in Riverside, California say that a 19-year-old man is facing a litany of charges after he allegedly killed a 16-year-old pregnant girl during a terrifying hit-and-run earlier this month when she was attempting to confront him over his illegal relationship with her younger sister. The whole thing unfolded around 11:45 p.m. on February 2nd after the suspect, 19-year-old Isaac Blackhorse Garcia, pulled up to a residence on the 1500 block of Gregg Place. He was reportedly there to drop off his 15-year-old girlfriend, whom he was in an illicit relationship with due to her young age. When the 15-year-old's family saw Garcia arriving, they went out to his vehicle to confront him. Among the family members was the girl's 16-year-old sister, Kaylee Corona. Moments later, Garcia allegedly sped off in his vehicle, undeterred by the fact that there were people close to his car. Witnesses say that he drove right into Kaylee despite the fact that she was pregnant. Horrifying footage taken from home surveillance cameras in the area shows the 16-year-old's heartbroken family members running out into the street to try and tend to her while screaming for help. Though police were called and arrived soon after, sadly, Kaylee died from her injuries at a local hospital. Miraculously, doctors were successfully able to deliver her baby daughter, though she currently remains in critical condition. Loved ones say that they named the baby girl Elena. The day after the awful incident, authorities were able to track down and arrest Garcia. He has now been charged with a number of offenses, including murder, hit and run resulting in death, and unlawful sex with a minor. Making the situation even more disturbing, police say that they are still investigating Garcia for other crimes. According to them, he may have contacted and abused other minors as well. Kaylee's heartbroken family members are now not only trying to wrap their heads around her sudden and tragic death, but are trying to plan for her baby's future. In a GoFundMe set up after her murder, they wrote in part, quote, "Our girl was more than just a teenager. She was a radiant light in our lives. She was a caring, loving, and joyful soul whose presence touched everyone she met. She had so many dreams, so many moments ahead of her, and in the blink of an eye, all of that was stolen. The grief we feel is indescribable, and the void she leaves behind is immeasurable. In addition to losing our sweet girl, we are now facing the urgent medical needs of her baby, who is fighting for her life. As we struggle to navigate this unimaginable tragedy, we are asking for support with any expenses related to our loss." Representatives from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police say that a local man is facing charges following a strange and disturbing case in which he allegedly murdered his elderly father and then blamed the crime on aliens. The whole thing began around 6 p.m. on February 5th when 911 dispatchers received a frantic phone call from a woman named Sang La. Sang stated that she had just come home from work and had found her 73-year-old husband, Yunjin La, unresponsive in their master bedroom. He was collapsed over a table and he didn't appear to be breathing or moving. When authorities arrived at the scene on the 5300 block of Caprock Canyon Road, they found Yun, who sadly was quickly pronounced dead. Initially, it was believed that the incident was an accidental fall. However, that changed when the shell casing from a 9mm bullet was spotted near Yun's body. It turned out that he had been shot in the back of the head. After speaking more with Sang, police learned that the couple's son, 35-year-old Timothy La, also lived with them. Sang said that she had not seen her son since she left for work that morning and that it was possible he owned a gun. Authorities found Timothy walking around the neighborhood a short time later, and he was placed under arrest. Afterwards, he allegedly confessed to the fatal shooting, though offered a bizarre explanation for his actions. Timothy reportedly told investigators he had killed his father because aliens told him to. He also said that he believed he was saving someone from being tortured and that this person, who he referred to as a worker, was, quote, wearing the skin of his father's face. The 35-year-old also stated that he, quote, felt like he was on a different planet. Timothy Law has now been charged with open murder with the use of a deadly weapon. He was denied bail and currently remains in custody. The family of a New York City father of four and grandfather have been left heartbroken this week after he was senselessly gunned down during the middle of an argument, one that allegedly began over a parking space. According to reports, the whole thing began shortly before 2 a.m. on February 9th when 49-year-old Trevor Hughes and his girlfriend arrived at his home in the Bronx. Trevor had just finished up a late-night gig as a DJ and was hoping to get a few hours sleep before starting another job early that morning. However, when he arrived at the driveway where he usually parked his car, he found on the spot blocked by another vehicle. This annoyed Trevor, who apparently paid his neighbor for use of the driveway, which was across the street from his own home on Fowler Avenue. He was pretty sure he knew what had happened though. Patrons at the nightclub around the corner often illegally parked on the street. After calling 311 and trying to get the situation sorted out, Trevor was apparently able to find the driver, 46-year-old LeVar Davis. Davis was with his own girlfriend, 41-year-old Fallon Wise. However, the pair were far from sympathetic to the fact that Trevor was trying to get home. Instead of apologizing for the inconvenience, they reportedly became argumentative and confrontational. Things reportedly escalated to tragedy when Davis allegedly pulled out a gun and shot Trevor in the stomach. At the same time, he and Wise severely beat Trevor's girlfriend before fleeing the scene. When emergency responders arrived, both Trevor and his girlfriend, who has not been identified by name, were rushed to a hospital. She suffered multiple fractures to her face as well as several broken teeth, but thankfully survived. Sadly, the same couldn't be said for Trevor. He was pronounced dead a short time later. Police soon tracked Davis and Wise to her apartment, though they were reportedly not cooperative. Davis allegedly barricaded himself inside, requiring authorities to send in the emergency services unit in order for him to be placed under arrest. Davis has now been charged with second-degree murder, but police say that he is no stranger to serious charges like this. In fact, he previously served more than 24 years in a state prison after he was convicted of another killing in 1997. Davis was released in 2019 in that case and was on lifetime parole at the time of this week's incident. As for Trevor's loved ones, they say that they are still trying to wrap their heads around the senselessness of it all. In addition to leaving behind 4 children and some grandkids, the 49-year-old is remembered as a talented DJ, a hard worker, and a helpful man who cared about his neighbors and his community. Authorities in the city of Auburndale, Florida, say that a 46-year-old man has been arrested and is facing charges this week, days after he allegedly lied to officers concerning the whereabouts of his girlfriend to cover up the fact that he had viciously murdered her. The case began on February 6th when police were asked to do a welfare check on 48-year-old Stacey Ann Powell. The request came after Stacey failed to log into her work computer for 2 days at her home on Elyria Court, which she shared with her boyfriend, 46-year-old Andrew Ridgway. When officers arrived at the residence, initially they didn't find Stacey or Ridgway there. Instead, the only person home was a handyman. He told police that he had been hired to fix and remodel some kitchen cabinets. However, shortly after police got there, they received a call from Ridgway. Authorities now say that the 46-year-old knew they had arrived because he was watching them on cameras he had installed at the property. When asked what was going on, Ridgway told officers that he was in North Carolina with Stacey's grandmother. He claimed that she had taken an Uber from their house on February 5th and had been on her way to the airport the last time he saw her. He said her plan was to fly to Jamaica to visit her sick father. Right away, police knew that this was a lie. You see, Stacey's grandmother lived in Florida, and her dad was the one that lived in North Carolina. He also wasn't sick, nor was he in Jamaica. In fact, he was the one that had called police asking them to check on her. Several hours later, police obtained a warrant to search the Elyria Court home. When they did, everyone's worst fears were confirmed. Stacey's body was inside, and it was clear that she had been murdered. Her cause of death has not been revealed at this time, though police have stated that the attack was so savage that it required 3 forensic technicians to process the scene and took them multiple days to positively confirm the identity of the remains. Ridgway, meanwhile, was tracked down and arrested in Augusta, Georgia on February 7th. At the time, he was reportedly driving Stacey's pickup truck. At the time of this recording, Ridgway has been charged with murder as well as providing false information to law enforcement. The motive behind the disturbing crime remains unclear. Representatives from the Pennsylvania State Police are scrambling to crack quite the rotten case after 100,000 eggs were stolen from an organics company last week, a crime that authorities suspect is linked to the soaring price of eggs. The whole thing began around 8:40 p.m. on February 1st when the unknown thieves struck a distribution trailer owned by Pete and Jerry's Organics. The trailer was parked in Antrim Township when the suspects broke into the back, making off with 100,000 eggs that were inside. The haul currently has an estimated retail value of $40,000. So far, it appears that authorities have not been able to locate those responsible and are asking the public for any information or additional video surveillance they might be able to provide. However, they have said that that they think they know the reason behind the heist. In short, the skyrocketing price of eggs. According to reports, ongoing issues with bird flu in the US have forced farmers to cull millions of chickens over the past few months, leading to an egg shortage. This has caused prices to more than double since the summer of 2023. Unfortunately, it appears that these bizarre kinds of thefts may only increase as long as the situation continues. Already, another similar, albeit much smaller scale incident was reported out of Seattle, Washington. In the early morning hours of February 5th, restaurant owner Hyung Park was alerted that his business, Luna Park Cafe, was being robbed. Surveillance video captured the suspects as they stole food from the restaurant's refrigerated shed. Clearly, they knew what they were after. While they made off with about $780 worth of items comprised of several breakfast favorites, nearly half the value of the haul was in the 540 eggs the robbers took. Park rushed down to the scene and was able to stop the culprits from stealing more, but frustratingly, they were able to escape before police arrived. At the time of this recording, that case is being investigated too, though similar to the Pennsylvania incident, no suspects had been identified or located. Representatives from Florida's Polk County Sheriff's Office say that a local woman is facing charges this week following an unhinged attack on a man with a piece of gardening equipment, a crime she allegedly committed because she was angry that he had canceled plans with her. The whole thing started sometime on February 10th when the unidentified victim contacted 47-year-old Melanie Davis and said that he could no longer make their scheduled plans to hang out the following day. It's unclear how that conversation went, but it's unlikely that the man anticipated what would happen next. According to police, Davis responded to the cancellation by driving to the man's house in the city of Frostproof at 3 a.m. Once there, she began shouting at him from outside. When the man came to see what was going on, the 47-year-old allegedly climbed the man's fence, pushed through his door, and started punching him. Apparently not content with this, at some point she reportedly grabbed a garden hoe, which she used to continue the beating. When police were called to the scene, the male victim was taken to the hospital with a serious cut on one of his arms. Davis, meanwhile, was arrested and charged with armed burglary with battery, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, simple battery, and criminal mischief. While this all sounds pretty crazy, apparently Davis has a pretty long track record of similar incidents. The Polk County Sheriff's Office say that she has been arrested by them 27 times, with their interactions with her dating back to 1997, when she was just 19 years old. Just in case you were wondering, that first arrest was also for battery. Authorities in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, say that they are investigating an extremely troubling case this week after a sports reporter was found dead under suspicious circumstances inside of his hotel room, and a woman arrested in connection with the incident has reportedly been linked to a series of other similarly disturbing crimes. The whole thing began sometime on February 5th when 27-year-old Aiden Manzano was found dead in his room at the Comfort Suites Hotel in the city of Kenner. The young sports reporter, who worked for the broadcasting company Telemundo, was on assignment in New Orleans and had traveled to the area to cover Super Bowl 69. Shortly after Aiden's body was found, authorities spotted indicators that something suspicious had happened here. The credit card he'd used to check into the hotel was missing from his wallet, along with his cell phone. When police obtained and reviewed the hotel's surveillance footage, they became even more concerned. The video revealed that earlier that morning, when Aiden had returned to his room after a night out, he had been with a woman. The pair were captured by security cameras entering his room around 4:35 a.m. After that, only the woman was ever seen again. She went in and out of the room a couple of times before leaving for good around 6. Upon further investigation, authorities were able to identify the mystery woman as 45-year-old Danette Colbert. Not only does Colbert reportedly have a lengthy criminal history, police learned that several of the crimes she had previously been investigated for followed an alarmingly similar pattern to how Aiden had died. Specifically, Colbert would allegedly go out, meet unsuspecting men at bars, and then drug them before robbing them of money and valuables. While so far police have not shared Aiden's cause of death, they have said that he may have been drugged. They also revealed that they had since tracked down and arrested Colbert, and that when a search of her house was carried out, Aiden's credit card and phone were recovered. As unsettling as this already is, it appears that the case has only grown larger in scope over the past few days. According to police, they have been contacted by a number of Colbert's other alleged victims and are investigating her in connection with at least one other death, that of 55-year-old John Jenkins. Jenkins, who was from Maryland, was found dead in his New Orleans hotel room on December 15th of last year. Initially, the situation was classified as an accidental death, but now authorities say that they believe Colbert might have been involved. While most of the surviving victims have chosen to remain anonymous, one man who has come forward is 52-year-old David Butler. Butler shared his nightmarish run-in with Colbert during interviews with media outlets, telling them that he met her one night back in 2021. After allegedly offering him a drugged cocktail, Butler explained that Colbert drove him back to the property where he was staying. When he woke up, his phone and wallet were gone, and his credit cards had been used to make thousands of dollars worth of purchases at Best Buy and Walmart. He also said that $80,000 worth of cryptocurrency that he'd been saving for retirement had also been cleaned out of his account. Butler slammed the justice system's handling of Colbert, saying that she was given lenient sentencing despite her lengthy criminal track record and the clear danger she posed to society. He stated in part, quote, "Had the court acted decisively by incarcerating Ms. Colbert or enforcing stricter conditions for her release, it is possible Aiden would still be alive today." Given the notorious nature of Colbert's alleged crimes, she has been given the nickname online, the Bourbon Street Hustler. Right now, she has only been charged with robbery in connection with the Aiden Manzano case, though police say more charges will likely follow. The situation is still developing. A small Wyoming community has been left completely shocked and devastated this week after a local mother allegedly shot all 4 of her daughters, killing 3 of them before also turning her weapon on herself. According to reports, the heartbreaking incident began at around 1:30 p.m. on February 10th when emergency responders in Bighorn County received a call from 32-year-old Tranielle Harshman. The mother of 4 told 911 dispatchers that all 4 of her daughters had been shot and were most likely dead. She went on to chillingly describe where each of the young girls could be found inside the family's residence before saying that she planned to do the same to herself. Dispatchers pleaded with Harshman to stay on the line with them, but unfortunately it was no use. The 32-year-old told them multiple times that it was, quote, too late, before at some point the call abruptly cut off. When police arrived at the scene in the town of Byron, they quickly found the 4 young victims, just as Harshman had described. All of them had suffered gunshot wounds to the head. 3 of the girls, ages 9, 2, and almost 3, were soon pronounced dead, while the 4th, a 7-year-old named Olivia, was rushed to a hospital. Harshman, meanwhile, was found in an upstairs bedroom with a self-inflicted gunshot to the head. She was taken to a hospital as well, but was also later pronounced dead. The tragedy has not only come as a shock to the community, but also to those that were close to Harshman as well, particularly her husband Cliff, who was the father of the 2 youngest girls and was helping to raise the older 2 as well. Despite the awful nature of what happened, Cliff has come out in support of Harshman, telling the media that she was suffering from severe mental health problems and postpartum depression in the lead up to the incident. He also said that she had been getting help, stating, quote, "My wife is not a monster. Most people don't understand how that affects the brain. It's a chemical imbalance, and it can be exacerbated by trying to fix it with medication." Currently, the sole surviving victim of the crime, 7-year-old Olivia, remains in critical condition. She has since been taken to a different medical facility in Salt Lake City, Utah, where it's said that she has been treated for traumatic brain injuries and is fighting for her life. A GoFundMe has been set up to help Cliff and Olivia get through this unimaginably dark time, as well as to help cover the cost of medical bills. At the time of this recording, the fundraiser is only a few $100s away from its $100,000 goal. Shortly after we finished recording this segment, we learned that tragically, Olivia has also now died from her injuries. The announcement was made in an update to the GoFundMe page on February 16th and reads in part, quote, "Olivia is with her sisters now. She gained her angel wings yesterday at 3:44 p.m. She fought so hard up until the last minute. Her body and her brain had been through too much. Medication helped, but we reached a point where medical options were exhausted and her body only continued to get worse. She kept fighting through it all, though, until her heart stopped. We are grateful she hung on as long as she did so we could get some valuable time with our sweet baby girl the last 5 days." Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.